our live stream. We've got Ari Parker with us again tonight. Really excited to have Ari on with us. The last time, you might recall, he was here a few weeks ago, and we talked a bit about his background and answered a lot of Medicare questions. But tonight, we've got him for Medicare questions because we are right in the heart of the annual enrollment period, and I want to really get into a lot of questions. In fact, thank you for those that wrote in your questions. We have quite a few of those, both on Social Security, which I'll handle, and Medicare, which Ari will handle. The usual disclaimer here, we don't know you personally, so we can't talk specifically about your situation, meaning we can't interview you, but we can answer the question, and most questions have one of three formats. There's a question which has a black and white answer. There's a question that might have a couple of different answers, and we'll do our best to make some assumptions about what you are asking. And there are questions really where the answer isn't the question, it's just forming the right question, and then the answer is self-evident. But if you do want to talk to somebody specifically about Medicare, you should talk to our partner at Chapter. I'll put the phone number up right now so that you have it, and they will be happy to spend the time necessary with you to make sure that they have the perfect plan just for you. All right. Now, on the phone, or on the Zoom, sorry, this is neither a phone nor a Zoom, on the live stream, we've got Ari and we've got Jill, our producer, and Jill is going to be running through the questions. So Jill, why don't I leave it to you to get things going for us, and I'll sit back and just wait for the questions to come. And I'm also going to move Ari into the pole position here, and I'm going to step down and wait for the Social Security question. So Ari, welcome to the channel, and we're so happy that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me back, Geoff. It's a delight to be here with your viewers. And thank you to Jill for running the show.
Well, and thank you to you guys for your wisdom and expertise. And we are getting a lot of good evenings and hellos. So I just want to respond back with good evening, hello, and we are so happy you are here. And as Geoff said, we will be taking both Social Security and Medicare questions. And Geoff will be answering those Social Security ones, and Ari will be taking the Medicare questions. So definitely put those in the chat box. I don't see any questions as of yet, but we do have a lot that have come in through email. So I'm going to start right with those as we wait for some to come in live. So the first one is for you, Ari. It's from Janet. And she's asking, we will be retiring before age 65, and wondered what advice you have for medical insurance prior to signing up for Medicare. Also, I know you can sign up for Medicare up to 3 months before age 65. When does Medicare actually start? On your birthday, or your birthday month, or when you sign up?
All right. Thank you so much for the question, Janet. Your Medicare will begin on the first of the month in which you turn 65. So if your birthday is December 23rd, let's say, your Medicare will begin December 1st, as long as you sign up before December. And you sign up for Medicare during your initial enrollment period, which is the 3 months before your 65th birthday, and it extends to your birth month and 3 months after your 65th birth month. But you don't want to wait. If you know that you want your Medicare to begin at 65, sign up 3 months before you turn 65, and your Medicare will begin on the first of your birth month. Now, because you're retiring before 65, first, congratulations on your retirement. Now, you have some decent options to bridge the gap until Medicare. One of them would be to COBRA. You and your spouse can COBRA if you just left your employer. And most, under federal law, you're entitled to COBRA for up to 18 months. And there is an extension here if your spouse is actually starting Medicare, but this wouldn't pertain to your situation. The second option that you have is you can purchase a plan on the Affordable Care Act exchange. Now, we don't know yet what will happen to the Obamacare subsidies. They might be extended, they might not. That's for Congress to figure out. I don't have a crystal ball. But you might be able to find a plan on the Affordable Care Act exchange that's less expensive than COBRA. the key there would be making sure that all your providers are in network, because sometimes the Obamacare plans have quite limited networks of doctors. And then the third option you have is to purchase a private short-term insurance plan. Now, these plans are typically subject to questions about your recent health history, but if you're in good health or you're just looking for catastrophic coverage, that might be another avenue to consider. So 3 options to bridge the gap until Medicare.
Great. I want to bring to you, Geoff, that there is someone in the chat box saying you have 115 people waiting on another link based on an email sent earlier today. So I'll bring the next question to Ari. While Geoff, if you see if you can bring them in. Karen is asking, I'm 64 now and working full time. I plan to retire at age 67. I have creditable health insurance coverage through my employer, a local government. The insurance is a high deductible plan with an HSA. I contribute to the health savings account and my employer contributes to it as well. For this reason, I don't want to get on Medicare or Social Security until I do retire at 67 to avoid tax penalties. Do I need to do anything now to ensure I'm not automatically enrolled in Medicare Part A when I turn 65 in a few months? Or would that not be automatic until I begin drawing Social Security at age 67? I do not want to pay tax and penalties on those funds in my HSA.
All right, an HSA question. So absolutely right. Do not start any part of Medicare for as long as you intend to contribute to your HSA. That also means not taking Social Security, because if you were to take Social Security, then you would be automatically enrolled in Part A. And we don't want that, because if you were enrolled in Part A, then you can no longer make contributions to your HSA. Now, you mentioned that you're planning to retire at age 67. So at 66 and a half will be the time to discontinue contributions to your HSA. You want to make sure that you discontinue those contributions and that your employer discontinues those contributions no later than 6 months before you intend to apply to enroll in Medicare or Social Security.
Okay, great. Next question is from Gary. I trust you are well. My wife and I are both 65 years old. She retired in 2023. I am semi-retired as of June 2025. I am anticipating drawing Social Security in April of 2027. We are both recently on Medicare as of my birthday, and April 2025, as the company I am employed by moved us both to Medicare. I'm still learning to navigate the Medicare waters and had recently signed up with Aetna for a Part D policy. That way will not be available, though, in 2026. So now we're both dependent on Medicare exclusively. She takes 4 meds, I take 6. Okay, so his question is it prudent for us to purchase a Medigap policy given we're only 65 years old? I'd say we're both reasonably healthy, somewhat wealthy. We have our medications, of course, and a bout of prostate cancer for me. Is reaching out to a Medicare specialist advisable? I understand Medicare Advantage is not an advantage. Should we take the plunge and get Medigap policies or roll the dice? What do others do in a similar situation?
Jill, could we, this is a beautifully written email. Can we rewind the tape for a second? Is the person still receiving work-provided coverage, or instead are they on Medicare and not using their work-provided coverage as secondary?
Good question. Let's see. So she retired in 2023. He's semi-retired.
Okay.
Anticipating drawing in April, Social Security in April of 27. So let's see. As of my birthday, both on Medicare as of my birthday, April 2025, as the company I am employed by moved us both to Medicare.
All right. So if someone is working part-time, if they're not full-time employed, then they need to start Medicare by way of turning 65. So it's great that this gentleman and their spouse started Medicare. That's awesome. Now we need to talk about what original Medicare covers. Original Medicare is Part A, hospital insurance, and Part B, outpatient coverage. In exchange for paying the Part B premium, which is $185 per month for 2025, you get 80-20 coinsurance with the government. Government picks up 80%, you owe 20% out of pocket. Now, this person already selected a standalone prescription drug plan, which is good because you have to get your drugs covered through a private insurance company. However, what I'm worried about is whether they have coverage for the 20% that they otherwise owe out of pocket. And here there are two options. Option one is to choose a Medigap plan, which is also known as Medicare Supplement. This is the most comprehensive and flexible type of coverage. It covers the 20% you'd otherwise owe out of pocket. Option two is Medicare Advantage. And based on what was written in the email, doesn't sound like this person is interested in Medicare Advantage. So then I would encourage you to review your Medicare Supplement options. And you have 6 months from when you first start Medicare in order to choose a Medigap plan without any questions about your health history. Now, in terms of reviewing the standalone prescription drug plan, the annual enrollment period started yesterday. You have until December 7th to review your standalone prescription drug plan.
Okay, perfect. And Geoff, just for your knowledge, Paul had mentioned everybody is at the other link, but someone named JH sent the link to the audience. And now Bruce just said he just hopped over from the other link and he is now here. So that is a good sign. Hopefully all of you that were at another link, we apologize for that happening, but welcome here. This will be recorded. So if you did miss anything, you didn't miss it for long. You will be able to watch it later. All right, so Diane came in with a question for you, Ari, on Medicare in the chat box. If you are collecting Social Security before 65, can you delay Medicare A and B until my wife retires? We are currently on my wife's employer's health plan.
The answer is no. When you start taking Social Security, you're automatically enrolled in Medicare Part A at 65. The government, in fact, will send you your red, white, and blue card.
Okay. And thank you, Mary, for letting us know she was able to get in by going to YouTube Live and searching for Holy Schmidt instead of viewing on the YouTube channel.
I also just resent the link out to the list, so everybody should have the current link. Not sure why there were two links, but anyway, everybody has the right link now.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see it with the number of comments that are rolling in now. It seems like we have a quorum.
Yes, people are now arriving. So okay, great. All right, so let's keep going. We now have a question in the chat box, Medicare related as well, and then I'll bring in some Social Security. I know, Geoff, you were working hard to get everybody over here. People are now filing in. Perfect.
All right, Fast Eddie.
Eddie is asking, my birthday is late in December. When will they notify me about getting Medicare? I don't turn 65 for another 3 years. I'm just wondering.
Well, it's good to be an early worm. Fast Eddie, they're going to notify you in 3 years. And if you're not taking Social Security, then you have to affirmatively enroll in Medicare. And it's fast, safe, and secure to do through your online Social Security account. And that's something that we'd be delighted to help you with in 3 years, because that's when you'll be in your initial enrollment period. And then your Medicare will begin December 1st of 2028.
Okay, great. All right, let's bring in a Social Security question. For those of you that just are arriving now, we are taking both Social Security and Medicare questions. Geoff will be taking the Social Security questions, and Ari Parker will be taking the Medicare questions. So this one's for you, Geoff. Linda is asking, every time I hear President Trump talk about Social Security, he says there is no longer tax on Social Security. However, I hear other people on the news say that there will still be tax on Social Security and then it will be a deduction on yearly taxes instead. I don't understand. Am I getting taxes taken out every month from my Social Security now? So will that continue, or will I get money back at the end of the year when I do my taxes?
Sure. So there are two types of Social Security taxes out there. There's what comes out of your paycheck, and that's not going anywhere. You're still going to be making contributions to the Social Security Trust every month, you and your employer, or you with a larger number if you're self-employed. So that's not what President Trump was talking about. There was a discussion about eliminating tax on Social Security altogether and making it like it was back in 1983, and that wasn't going to make it through Congress. And so what happened instead was something that wasn't necessarily a change to the Social Security Act, but rather a new deduction. And for folks 65 years and older, it's $6,000 is a deduction for people who are single, $12,000 for those that are married filing jointly. So that's what he's talking about. So yes, you will be still making tax payments to, if you're working, to Social Security. If you're not working, then your deduction is probably higher. But if you are earning a lot of income in retirement, you'll still be more than likely paying some tax on your Social Security.
All right. So Brenda is sending in some gratitude. She said, we contacted Chapter after his first interview here, and they saved us over $100 per month on a supplement plan. Thank you. So
that's what we're here for.
Yeah, good to hear. All right, Brian is asking Medicare question. Wife and I are on an HDHP plan through ACA. Wife is the primary insured. I turned 65 10 months before her. Can you elaborate on how we should stop HSA contributions 6 months before Medicare?
For this question, Jill, there was something that caught my attention. All right. So Brian is turning 65. Whew. Brian, I was worried that you were already 65, because if you were already 65, your Obamacare subsidies end when you turn 65. If you're entitled to premium-free Medicare Part A, and the vast majority of people are entitled to premium-free Medicare Part A because they or their spouse have worked 10 plus years and paid federal payroll taxes. So I am relieved that you are turning 65 rather than already 65. Now, in terms of stopping HSA contributions, here I have good news. So there's two buckets of people. If you're approaching 65 and you're on a high deductible health insurance plan and contributing to an HSA, and you want to start Medicare at 65, you just need to turn off those contributions the month before you turn 65. So if Geoff were turning 65 in December and he and Jill were on a high deductible health insurance plan and they were maxing out their HSA contributions, which, by the way, I recommend, an amazing retirement savings device. But Geoff would just need to shut off his contributions in November, at the end of November, in order to comply with that rule. Alternatively, if Jill and Geoff were past age 65 and on a high deductible health insurance plan, then they need to take proactive action to shut off their HSA contributions up to 6 months before they intend to apply to enroll in Medicare. The reason why is because if you're past 65, then the government backdates your Part A up to 6 months. So in order to comply with that rule, you have a timing issue where you need to shut off your HSA contributions and your employer's HSA contributions even before you apply to enroll in Medicare. And I actually write about this at length in my short book. It's not that complicated. And if you'd like a free copy of it, you can just email us at connect@askchapter.com And there I just break it out and put it in plain English as to what you would need to do in order to comply, including having a monthly chart of when you would need to pause your or stop your contributions.
Okay, great. All right, Geoff, this is for you. Social Security from Steve. I am eligible for retirement in April. I will be 66 years old in 10 months. My wife is 9 years younger than me. I have a 90,000 left on our mortgage and 45,000 on Parent Plus student loans. I collect a $1,200 pension and will receive about $1,100 pension from my current job. I will receive $3,500 from Social Security, and we have $300,000 in retirement funds. So I'm thinking I should continue working while collecting for 2 years till I have no debt. Your thoughts?
So I can give you thoughts on what I would do. Each person is going to be different, but Steve, you're actually in a unique position, which is you are very close to full retirement age. And once you reach full retirement age, you can earn as much as you want and you don't have to give any of it back to the Social Security Administration. So if you want to clean out a lot of that debt, you are in a position where you're basically working and then giving back the payments you're getting from Social Security. So you have two income flows coming in, and that will allow you to pay down a lot of that debt more quickly than if you were not full retirement age. If you are reaching full retirement age in 2026, your full retirement age is age 67. Once you reach age 67, you can earn as much as you want. You can earn $1 billion a year. It doesn't matter. You don't have to give any of your Social Security payment back to the Social Security Administration. So if it were me, Geoff Schmidt, I would continue to work to really clean out that debt, because most people don't want to go into retirement with debt. It eats away at the cash flow that you can use for other things, and really it seems like you're pretty close to being able to deal with it with two income streams coming in now once you reach full retirement age.
Okay, great. Next is Medicare. Scott is asking, do you have to enroll every year for Medicare, or is it a one and done deal?
One and done. Once you get that red, white, and blue card, you can, if you go back to working and you or your spouse work for a large employer, 20 employees or more, rule of 20, you can cancel your Medicare Part B and revert to work-provided insurance. But unless that describes your situation, and for most people, they love retirement and they don't intend to go back to working for the man, then Medicare is one and done. Once you have your red, white, and blue Medicare card, you're set. And if you're taking Social Security, then Uncle Sam automatically deducts your Part B premium. If you're not taking Social Security yet, then they invoice you on a quarterly basis until you begin taking.
All right, that's a lot of Medicare coming in right now. All right, Scott's asking, I plan on working past 65. I work for a large employer with more than 20 employees and has a credible plan. Do I need to notify Medicare I'm delaying coverage? I will not be taking Social Security.
Sorry, I cut you off there. We need to go by Jeopardy rules. I buzzed in late. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to notify Medicare that you're delaying. You simply don't do anything and you remain on your work provided coverage.
Okay. Donna's asking, I'm retiring in February 2026. Full retirement age is 66 and 10 months. I'll be that in October 2026. I'll turn on Medicare in February when I retire. I have health insurance now at my work. How do I turn on Medicare?
You do it through your online Social Security account portal. It's fast, safe, and secure. It'll take you less than 5 minutes. Because you're currently working past 65, there will be a one-page form for your HR coordinator to complete. It's a one-page form. The company official just signs at the bottom and they put in that you had work-provided coverage past 65.
I want to make sure that Donna's question was answered because she added an addendum. So I'm just going to read the bottom part of it. How do I turn on Medicare without getting a penalty? can I on the Social Security website? There we go.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. All right. Good. All right. So next is, let's see what we,
And just to go back and expand a little bit on that addendum, it's that one-page form that your HR benefit coordinator fills out. That's what lets Social Security know that you had creditable work provided coverage for the purpose of delaying Medicare past 65. The only people who have an exception to delay Medicare past 65 are those who are working for an employer with 20 or more employees or their spouses. Rule of 20.
okay, great. Now, next question is Social Security. Geoff, this is for you. It's from John. It is my understanding that the Trump administration wants Congress to pass a bill where Social Security, no matter how high one's benefit might be, will not be taxed. What do you think the prospects are for such a bill to be passed and signed into law?
Well, I think it's less likely now that there's a $6,000 standard deduction for those 65 and older, or $12,000 for families. The original promise on the Trump campaign trail was no tax on Social Security, taking it back to 1983, where you could earn as much as you want you could receive as much as you want from Social Security, and you wouldn't pay tax on it. And the rationale, it's a pretty solid rationale. You don't get a deduction for your contribution to Social Security. You're paying for that with after-tax dollars. Your employer does, but you don't. And so therefore you're getting double taxation on your contribution. So why should you pay taxes when it comes back out? Originally, it made sense that there was a maximum 50% penalty because the employer matches 50%. There was a tax deduction there. But then in 1993, 1994, the revision to the Social Security Act happened, and that moved from 50 to 85%. So there was sort of that, the rationale just sort of flew out the window. So it's appropriate to not pay taxes on Social Security because a lot of what you're paying in is already taxed with post-tax dollars, but I don't think it's likely. I could be wrong. I've seen a lot of things happen, and I would love for those that are receiving Social Security, no matter how much they receive, to not pay taxes on their Social Security. But there's a lot going on right now, and so I think that is less likely than more likely.
Okay, next one is for Ari from Renee on Medicare. We're on a supplement plan N, 2 healthy 65-year-olds. Oh, the screen just moved. Okay, most of our friends, it moved again. Most of our friends our age have Plan G. What are your thoughts on the best plan for us?
I love it. I think Medigap Plan N is great. In terms of Medigap is standardized under federal law, Medigap Plan G is the most comprehensive plan that someone who recently turned 65 can choose. Plan N is pretty close, though. There's only 3 differences between Plan N and Plan G. Under Plan N, you have a $20 copay when you go to the doctor. So if you don't go to the doctor more than twice a month, you're probably saving money on your premium compared to your friends who have Plan G. The second difference is that if you go to the emergency room and you aren't admitted within 24 hours, then you owe a $50 copay under Plan N. Under Plan G, you would not have that copay. And then third and finally, in many states, if the state allows an excess charge, some states don't. There are 8 states that prohibit excess charges. But if you live in one of the 40-some states that do, then, and I think there's 42 states that allow excess charges, but don't quote me on that. I know there are 8 states that prohibit them. I'm not quite certain if it's all 42 though that allow for an excess charge. But the point is, on a Plan N, a provider is allowed to pass that excess charge on to you, and it can be up to 15% depending on the state that you live in. Whereas under Plan G, an insurance company is not allowed to pass that excess charge on to you. So that's the big difference, because 15% of a multi-$1,000 bill can be thousands of dollars.
All right. You'll be happy to hear Rob Blake said that Patrick Marlowe from Chapter saved my wife and I almost $1,000 per year on our Medigap. Thank you for sharing that with us, Rob. We love to hear that.
Outstanding.
Yeah. Okay, great. Social Security question from Pamela. I took Social Security at age 63 and work part-time, and I'm still paying FICA. Is it true that is lost money that I will never see again since my Social Security will not be adjusted for that money?
So the answer is it depends. Social Security will take your best 35 years of earnings indexed to today's dollars. And that is with the caveat that you haven't reached age 60 yet. So 59 and before, the indexing number gets higher and higher the further you go back. But once you reach 60, the indexing number is 1. So if you're earning enough money at age 63, where that is one of your 35 best years, it does get added to the calculation. Now, the fact is 1/35 of your Social Security payment, even if it's a very large earning year, isn't going to make a big change to your Social Security payment. But if it happens over a series of multiple years, then yes, it will recalculate. It just recalculates at the current earnings level. You don't get the benefit of having a historical multiplier. And just to really give one quick example, if you were earning $20,000 in 1983, that $20,000 would be the equivalent of about $65,000 in 2025. And so that's the order of magnitude we're talking about, over 3x if you go far enough back. But when you get to 1 times, it's not a big needle mover unless you make a lot of money.
Okay, great. Donna Lynn, you have put in, I'm sure, a very brilliant question, and it's split up into so many pieces, and the chat box is moving really quickly. If you could re-put your question in all in one piece, then I will be able to better bring that to Ari. I can see it is a Medicare question. Okay, Brenda's asking, if you continue to work after full retirement age, doesn't extra income increase your Medicare Part B premium?
Potentially. It depends on whether the government considers you a high earner. This is called the Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. The government's loving acronym for it is IRMA. And it applies, it's a 2-year look back. So for this year, the government is looking at your 2023 tax return, and they consider you a high earner if you file solo and you earned more than $106,000 modified adjusted gross, or if you're a joint filer and you earned more than $212,000 modified adjusted gross. And it's graduated. So if you earn just slightly more than the threshold amount, then you just owe a little bit more. But there's 2 surcharges. There's one on Medicare Part B, and there's another on Medicare Part D.
Okay, another question from Cincy. My significant other just enrolled in Medicare Part B. She has been on Part A since July 1st, 2025. Part B shows an effective date of October 1st, 2025. When will she receive a bill for the October $185 premium?
Any day now. I would expect that bill to arrive by the end of next week.
Okay, Julie is asking Geoff a Social Security question. I have been working this first year of Social Security at 62. I was going to quit before I met the maximum, but my husband lost his job, and now the insurance coverage is critical. I'm over the $23,000 limit. How should I handle this? I know I'll owe 50 cents on the dollar over. Can I just keep on earning and plan on paying it back in my taxes, or do I need to act now?
So 2 points. The threshold is 23,400. As of right now, unfortunately, the that the revised 2026 number, which was supposed to come out on the 15th, has actually been pushed back to the 24th. So that'll go up a little bit, basically with inflation. But I wouldn't wait for them to bill you. That's always that's a tough bill to get. You can actually notify the Social Security Administration that you are working and you're earning more than the wage maximum, the wage cap, and so they will stop paying you your Social Security payment, and then you won't have to write a big check. Because if you wait until they actually find out, it might take years. Sometimes I've heard of horror stories where it takes 2 or 3 years, and all of a sudden someone gets a bill for $40,000 or $50,000 because they didn't notify the SSA. So you can go on the SSA website. There's a form you can fill out, tell them to suspend your Social Security payment, and then when you stop working, then you can claim or have them restart your Social Security again.
Okay, great. Ari, the question that Donna had brought before about, I have health insurance now at my work. How do I turn on Medicare without getting a penalty? Can I do it on the Social Security website? She added another piece to it, so I thought I'd just kind of bring that back up. She said, does she need a special form from her employer to prove that she had health care?
The form is L564. It's a one-page form, and that's what your benefit coordinator completes in order to show that you are covered under yours or your spouse's work-provided coverage. And they should be familiar with this form, and they're legally required to provide it to you. In terms of Donna's second piece, which is when should I file for Medicare with a retirement date of February 13th, if you're retiring February 13th, then I would anticipate that your work-provided coverage will extend to the end of February. And I would file for Medicare in January or February so that your coverage, your Medicare, begins March 1st. And January or February is also a perfect time to give us a call so we can help you with your wraparound coverage.
Okay, great. And Martha is asking, I plan to retire at 67. Medicare is secondary to my insurance at 65, and I will file a HR form. I am subject to Irma. Should I apply for plan A, B, or neither at 65?
If you're on your work provided coverage and that's providing primary insurance to you, then you should not double pay for insurance. I would remain on your work provided coverage as long as you're happy with it. If you're less than thrilled, then we'd be happy to do an apples to apples comparison for you. It's something we do all the time. Oftentimes employers subsidize the working spouse's employer premium, your healthcare premium, but they don't subsidize the non-working spouse's healthcare premium. So it might be a good value for a non-working spouse to move over to Medicare, even if the working spouse is remaining on their work provided coverage.
Okay, great. And Dominic is asking a question that's outside of Medicare and Social Security. So Geoff, would you like to just kind of let him know your email? And Dominic, if you could send that question to Geoff at his email, I'm sure that we can get you a response.
Sure, Dominic, just send the email to livestream@holyschmidt.com. I actually have, I'll just put it up right there for a moment, livestream@holyschmidt.com, and we will get back to you with an answer to your question. And if it doesn't take a lot of analysis, we can probably do it tomorrow. If it takes a bit of thinking, we'll get back to you in the next few days.
Thank you. And this is a Social Security question. Jim is asking, does the $6,000 bonus senior deduction limit funds that are returned to Social Security? I have heard that taxes paid on Social Security income go back to fund Social Security.
That's absolutely correct. And it whether it's a $6,000 deduction or your own Social Security contributions, the SSA will take the money that is in the trust, and it's something it's a very large number, and they'll invest it in U.S. government securities. And in fact, by law, they have to invest it in U.S. government securities. They can't invest it in private assets. It has to be government securities. That's part of the 1935 Social Securities Act. And because it is invested in U.S. government securities, it earns interest. That interest goes back into the trust, and it's one of the reasons why the trust is the date is not certain, because people don't know what interest rates are going to be next month or next year. But all of the interest that's earned on the invested funds that are in the trust, 100% of them, every single penny, goes back into the Social Security trust.
Wow. I didn't realize that that's why they don't know when their trust fund will run out.
Yep. It is one of the most confusing aspects of Social Security, because there are a lot of rumors out there that just aren't true. One is that the government borrows from Social Security, steals from Social Security. A lot of things that a lot of urban lore, but it all boils down to, if you assume that the government issues U.S. government securities, and you're investing funds from Social Security into U.S. government securities, yes, technically the government is investing or is borrowing from Social Security, but the securities have an interest payment date specific, a principal repayment date specific, and so it would be like investing in any other type of investment. It just happens to be the creditor or the lender is the U.S. government.
I hope you have a video on this. That's what I'm going to watch after we wrap.
I actually do have a video on this. For those of you who are watching the live stream, I'll put it in the link below, and you can see how it all works.
Great. Sounds like a great resource. All right, here's a Medicare question from Sandra. My husband and myself are signing up for the first time in January for Medicare. We need coverage as of March. How can we know the costs? It all seems so confusing to get an estimate of coverage and costs. Where do we get this information, and how do we understand it?
Well, congratulations on starting Medicare. In March, you can provide an estimate. Well, first, yes, there are a few numbers that you want to be mindful of. One is going to be your Part B premium. The government has not announced what the Part B premium will be for 2026. They did make a statement yesterday that they will announce it within the next 7 to 10 days, though. For this year, it's $185 per month. So that's the first number to be mindful of. The second thing is something that a viewer asked earlier, which is, are you subject to the income-related monthly adjustment amount? Then you'll pay more for Medicare Part B and for Part D. Now, the next thing is, how will you cover the 20% you otherwise owe out of pocket? Two options there. One is a Medicare Supplement plan, which sits on top of original Medicare and covers the 20%. Depends on the state that you live in as to how much you'll pay. Also depends on your age, sex, smoking status, whether you have a household discount, for example, because if you have a roommate in some states, even that might count towards lowering your Medicare Supplement premium. If you don't want Medicare Supplement, then the other option for comprehensive coverage would be a Medicare Advantage plan. 65% of Medicare Advantage plans have a $0 premium, and many of those plans come with prescription drug coverage bundled in, but you still owe the Part B premium to Uncle Sam, and there's trade-offs involved because Medicare Advantage is managed care, subject to the private insurance company's terms and conditions. It is a replacement for original Medicare.
Okay, great. Another Medicare question from Sheila. I am 67 and was laid off and have been on Medicare Plan A and B. I have UHC as my secondary. I'm returning to work full time. When do I need to inform Medicare?
It depends when your work provided coverage would start. So if your work provided coverage is starting on the 1st of November, then you would want to cancel your Medicare Part B. That would be Form 1763. It's a one-page form that you can use to cancel your Part B, and then you return it to your local Social Security office by fax or certified mail.
Okay, great. All right, here's the Social Security question. If you earn too much prior to full retirement and have Social Security payments cut, does that money return to you after you reach full retirement?
It does. It's as if you just never received the funds, and effectively it's like delaying Social Security to some degree. It's somebody on one of these live streams said, well, why don't I just take the funds and then pay them back and then just recalculate it every year? And would it be the same exact outcome as if I just waited to collect Social Security to a later age? The answer is yes, but I wouldn't really rely on the Social Security Administration or anybody really to recalculate your Social Security based on the fact that money was put back in. But technically, if you return the funds, the funds that you returned, it's as if you delayed claiming Social Security.
And can I say something here?
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
Geoff, you're the expert on Social Security. You can check your wage history through your online Social Security account. And so
That's
even
right.
if you haven't claimed Social Security yet, make sure that you have access to your online Social Security account and that your wage history is correct, because eventually you'll need that for the purpose of claiming.
That's absolutely right. Your wage history is available on the website, and you can actually go a lot deeper than what's on the website, and you can request your records from the Social Security Administration, and they'll get very granular as to what you earned. You can also audit your Social Security earnings, and basically, if you want to know how to do that, I'll put a video in the description below. You're probably not going to find a difference between what you think you should have and what the SSA has. The only thing I will say is that the SSA modernized in the late 1990s all the way up through basically the late 2015s, 2020s, meaning that they were bringing their computer system into the 21st century. But before that, they were doing it by hand. So it is worth checking your wage history, because if somebody happens to have their glasses off when they're keying it in 1991, it's important to note that because you can get it fixed.
What a great dialogue, right? Like, how fabulous to have both of you brilliant minds here at once. I could see this happening more often. All right.
I would love that.
I love the
I'd be
idea.
honored.
Right? Yeah, I think.
Holy Schmidt.
Holy Schmidt. I think this would be a great continuing idea. All right. So Pamela is now asking, Medicare question. My husband's been on Medicare Advantage plan for 4 years and has recently been diagnosed with Crohn's disease and has to go on Skyrizi. Would he be able to switch to supplement plan?
So the time to explore that option to switch from Medicare Advantage back to original Medicare is now. It's during the annual enrollment period, and you would need to act by December 7th, because that's when the annual enrollment period ends. Now, in terms of whether your husband might be approved for a Medicare supplement plan, in 46 states, if he's outside the 6 months after starting Medicare Part B, then an insurance company might be able to ask him questions about his recent health history, but it's not as invasive as a life insurance exam. No one comes and measures his height, vitals, and draws his labs. Instead, it's 5 to 10 questions about his recent health. And in 46 states, he'll probably have to answer those questions unless he has a guaranteed issue right. The only 4 states that are an exception here would be New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Maine. So they're all along the northern Atlantic coast: New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Maine. And Geoff, I think you own a home in each of those states.
All right. Gary is asking a Plan D question. If you're taking the same drug plan in 2026 as you did in 2025, do you need to re-enroll? The ID number is the same, but there are few changes in the plan.
for re-enrollment on a standalone prescription drug plan?
It just says Plan D. If you're taking the same drug plan in 2026 as you did in 2025, do you need to re-enroll?
So the answer here would be, in the last month, you will have received your annual notice of change. This will describe how your standalone Part D plan will operate in 2026. If you're happy with the way that it's changing, then you don't have to do anything and the plan will continue. But if you've had a change in your prescriptions, or the plan changed in a way that's suboptimal to you, for example, some people's Part D premiums have gone up 4x from what it was for this year, then use the annual enrollment period to review your drug plan. My general rule of thumb is marry your Medigap, date your drug plan. The Medigap plan you choose is probably the plan you'll have for 30 to 35 years, because I know, Geoff, this is like beating a dead horse, but that's how long actuarial tables suggest that you'll live if you're in your mid-60s today. You have a 50-50 shot of living into your 90s. So you're making a 30 to 35 year purchasing decision. Marry your Medigap, date your drug plan. The time to date your drug plan is every fall during the annual enrollment period, which we're in now.
Sounds like the time to look into it then. All right. JH is asking, are there any Medicare plans that I could be disqualified from due to pre-existing conditions?
Yes. The golden opportunity to purchase a Medicare supplement plan is 6 months after you start Medicare Part B. That is your golden ticket to purchase Medicare Supplement without any questions about your health history. And Medicare Supplement is the most comprehensive and flexible type of coverage for those who can afford it. If you're outside that 6-month window, then in 46 states, a carrier can ask you questions about your recent health history. And the only 4 states that are an exception here are New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Maine.
Okay, a Social Security question from Jim. I am still not sure if the $6,000 bonus deduction will diminish the amount of taxes going to fund Social Security. That would hasten the demise of Social Security. How is that to be calculated?
So anything that reduces what's paid into the Social Security trust is going to reduce the size of the Social Security trust. So Jim, you are correct. But there are a couple of things to think about here. The trust is due to expire, depending on which report you read, 2033 or 2034. And we have been in this exact same spot, much worse, frankly, in 1983. There was 2 months worth of funding left in the trust, and the government got together and they made the decision to do a couple of things. The first was they were going to raise the contribution from employers and employees from 5.4% to 6.2%. That solved the trust depletion issue at that point in time. The second is that they raised the full retirement age from 65 to 67, but that amortized out starting about 20 years forward. So no one who was reaching full retirement age in the next 20 years was affected. And you need to sort of envision what happens in 2033 if something doesn't get fixed. And I think it's highly likely that something's going to get fixed. That's my opinion. But imagine if 57 million people are now getting 70 to 80% of what they were receiving before 2033. They're going to have a pretty serious issue on their hands. First of all, a lot of them will be giving their kids a call saying, hey, I'm moving back home. They will be calling their congressman and saying, I now am in big trouble. It would be a political nightmare if it didn't get fixed. But so to answer your original question, yes, if you're reducing the amount of funds going into the trust, it will hasten the movement from 2034 to maybe 2033 or 2033 to 2032 and a half. It doesn't strike me as a big change. But I also think that it's highly likely that it's going to get sorted out, because the alternative means that most of the politicians out there won't have jobs, and we're going to have a crisis in the country.
All right, so we are at 5 minutes to the hour. I'm thinking perhaps maybe we have one more question for Ari. And also just putting out there the question, there still are many more questions to go, and many more from email that we haven't been able to get to in this hour. Are there any plans for another joint live show in the near future? And then I'll give Ari his last question.
I'd love it. All right, if you want to join regularly, we would love to have you on regularly.
I would love to join regularly. In fact, I think we're on for Thursday, October 30th as our next live, and then we're going to be on weekly until the end of the annual enrollment period. But maybe I'm getting ahead of myself.
So Ari and I have talked about this, and so all you need to do is ask a lot of questions, and you have. So Ari, thank you for joining us for the next few months, really. And so we'll let Ari answer the last question. And Ari, I know you have a hard stop and someplace you need to go.
Yeah.
I'm going to read up all about Social Security.
Yeah. And so we'll give Ari a question. And then Geoff, I'll turn it back over to you, and we'll have maybe time for one more Social Security.
Sounds good.
Connie asks, if someone is now 64 and turns 65 in April 2026, that's screen move. And due to Social Security disability has had Medicare Advantage for a few years, when can they switch to original Medicare?
You should review your coverage during the annual enrollment period because you're already on Medicare. And so you should take advantage to use this opportunity to make sure that you're on the right plan for the first few months of 2026. Then you are going to have the opportunity to sign up for a Medicare Supplement plan when you turn 65 in April, and a carrier will not be allowed to price discriminate against you. They can't charge you a higher price, and they can't ask you any questions about your health history. So very exciting opportunity for you over the next few months. You get to review your plan for 2026, and then you get to move to a Medicare Supplement plan beginning April 1st, if you choose.
Very good. All right. Well, listen, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I know you have to go, and I will sign you out, and then it'll be just Jill and I for the next couple of minutes. Let me figure out if I can get the software working correctly. I think I've got it here. All right. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you to your viewers for the excellent questions. And I'm glad that everyone made it here, and we'll have the whole crew next in the next time that we're on together.
And a lot of gratitude from our listeners coming in. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Ari.
Thanks, Geoff.
We'll talk to you soon. Bye now.
Bye, Ari. All right, Geoff, do we have time for one more Social Security question?
We have time for one more Social Security question. Sure.
Okay. Keith is asking, if I take my Social Security at 62, which I'm going to work and make $23,900. I need to make a little to pay my health care, not to hinder my Social Security. Say I take $20,000 from my 401k. You mentioned that isn't considered income towards my Social Security. I know I will be taxed on the withdrawals. Will the extra $20K affect how much tax I pay on my Social Security tax? Say I don't take any money from my 401k and just make the extra $23,900. Will I pay less tax on my Social Security?
So there are two things to note here. One is the threshold you're talking about. The threshold in 2025 is $23,400. Anything above that, you have to give back $1 for every $2 you earn over it. The amount that you have to pay taxes on is formulaic, and there's a concept called combined income, which is basically your adjusted gross income plus 50% of your Social Security payment plus any tax-free income you have, basically from muni bonds or muni bond funds. You can get these from a lot of the different mutual funds out there. And if you are receiving over certain thresholds, you possibly will have to pay tax on Social Security. A lot of it depends on your other deductions, because frankly, even if you could qualify for paying taxes on Social Security, all that means is that you pay ordinary income tax on Social Security. But if you have other deductions as an offset, you still might not pay taxes on Social Security. So it's not a fait accompli. It's not for sure any more than you would pay taxes on a dividend. You may have offsets or interest income. That's probably a better example from your bank. If you put money into a CD, you still may not pay taxes on the CD if you have enough deductions. Same thing here.
Great. Well, so there's a lot coming in thank you so much for this live. Great questions, great answers. Please continue these. Thank you all very much. So a lot of gratitude. So I'm going to turn it back to you to close us out.
And gang, if you want to talk to Chapter, give them a call at 440-703-1224. Tell them Geoff Schmidt sent you, and they will be happy to help you. They need about 20 minutes of your time. And if you're going to do it, now's the time to do it, because we have between now and December 7th for the annual enrollment period. And you can see the number up on the screen. It's also in the description below. So if we're signing out here and you're not able to watch the video, just check the description. More importantly, or as importantly, thank you so much for staying up with us. It's 8 o'clock New York time. For a lot of you, this is crept into your evening. For those of you who joined because the link was wrong, not sure what happened, to be frank, because it was the same link as others, but I apologize for that. I think something happened when we moved the day from Tuesday to Thursday, but I'm not entirely sure. But we're glad you're here with us now. The whole thing has been recorded. It will be available for you to watch from end to end starting tomorrow. And if you have any other questions, fire them across at livestream@holyschmidt.com, and we'll get them on next week's live stream. And then again with Ari in 2 weeks. With that, I want to thank Jill for her expert guidance, taking us through the last hour or so and the technical issues that we experienced. Thank you, Jill. Thank you so much. And Jill and I will see you next week. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Have
Bye
a
now.
great night.